The value of the talent beyond boundaries model and displaced talent mobility to employers is really quite logical. Employers have chronic skill shortages, even in times of recession, and talent beyond boundaries know of an untapped talent pool who are ready, willing and able not only to rebuild their lives, but to contribute meaningfully with new employers who are giving them the opportunity to lift out of displacement. We often say it is not only the smart thing to do in terms of filling a skill shortage, but it's the right thing to do in terms of a world that is really on fire. There is huge global momentum for displaced talent mobility or refugee labour mobility. The first acknowledgement is the fact that this cannot be done without employers. There is no labour mobility without an employer behind it. And what we're seeing is that employers are really needing to be creative with their workforce planning. If you're recruiting graduates, local staff, international staff, we're seeing an inclusion of displaced talent and refugees in workforce planning. The momentum there really is building for this to be sustainable. At the same time, organisations that have worked with migration, evaluated migration, researched migration, are really looking at this innovation based on the fact that there is a proof of concept. This is not hypothetical. People are moving through displaced talent mobility. So how do we capture what is working well, how do we make it bigger, and how do we make it better?
Too often I think there are unconscious biases. There's just maybe misinformation or misunderstanding about who refugees are. And who refugees are is pretty simple. They're people like you and me, like anyone who have just had the bad fortune of being caught up in a terrible situation, have had to flee their homes. They're a cross-section of community. You have doctors, lawyers, nurses, people from any sector, engineers, skilled tradespeople. And too often I think there's a resistance to actually looking at this group of people as a potential source of skill, talent and opportunity that undermines them and their human rights, but it also doesn't make much sense at all for businesses, because I think all businesses around the world are looking for the best talent for their organisation, and refugees should not be overlooked.
We understand that when you're displaced, that doesn't mean your fundamental identity changes. You don't lose your skills, your capabilities, your expertise, your wisdom. And in fact, those talents are very much in demand by employers around the world. So if we can simply match the two, that will be a win-win. And it's an additional win for the communities that people are moving to, who are enriched by this additional expertise, insight, commitment that new arrivals bring with them. So we actually call it a win-win-win.
When we surveyed employers who have hired through us, 94% of employers stated that they would hire again, or that they would refer other companies to hire refugees through Talent Beyond Boundaries. And we believe that not only is this because we've sought to change the system, not only is this because we've built pathways and showed that refugees are just humans like anyone else with skills, but it also shows that refugees have skills, they have potential, they have capabilities and capacities, and they're really, really interested in building a better future for themselves and their family members.
The private sector are really at the heart of accessing our talent. I think for us, what we really need is for employers and talent acquisition teams to see this pool of incredible talent as mainstream part of their international recruitment processes. When that's being done and it's built into existing international recruitment processes, we know the job is done. So it's for the private sector to not only engage with organisations like TBB, but also to start hiring and for this to become normal within their organisations.